Okay, meeting come to order, soil board, February 28, 2019, all present except for Mary Lee. We're gonna start off with Keating. I think they have what we've got here in hand.
I don't have it.
I don't have that.
Is there a copy of that?
Okay, we can hand a bunch out to you.
I think we could
You,
share.
you, us to share.
Well, we can share one.
It's
too.
page 2 of that. I downloaded page 1.
Oh, and this is audio and video page.
So you actually do have that. That was the conditions
Okay.
that was submitted to you guys that we had approved over the past, let's go 6 months or so.
Okay, before we go any further, I gotta have a motion to open this meeting.
I'll make that motion.
Two-way we're open.
That's it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Good.
Yep, so all we did is squeeze it into the permit form.
Yep.
So this way you have it, and we're gonna also have that on your application for this year.
Want to give him a few minutes just to look it over.
No, we're good.
You good?
Yeah, I recognize it.
So basically that's.
Jeff, you all set?
Yes, yes, I am.
Mike, to say yes or no?
So ultimately, we're gonna give you an application to fill out like we normally do.
Correct.
All right, that application will have that language on there, which is basically the same language that we worked on, like I said, over the months.
Yeah.
It's the whole thought of that is that we wanna go in there and we wanna do inspections.
Okay.
And this way, we just have a solid structure to it, in what we're planning on looking at and what we're gonna do. Moving forward, tonight, we have a discussion that we're gonna bring up about a quote from Woodard and Curran
Yep.
to come up with a structure, or a checklist, if you will, on how we'll perform that, if the soil board approves that, on how to go about doing the inspection. And then ultimately, we would work with you during that time to make sure that we're all on the same page. That's been the feeling from day one. This way, we know what's going on, you know what's going on, that we're not, we might surprise you on our inspections, but yet, it'll be exactly what you would expect. We need to be able to get around the quarry too, so we're not gonna just walk around without you.
So this is in line with our conversation, so there's no surprise here, as you guys would expect. When we get to the, and I'll follow you guys' procedure, we get to the Woodward and Curran piece, so obviously I see the fee here. How does the Woodward and Curran bill, are we paying that as well? What's the intention there of the board?
I was thinking about 3 times that amount.
Uh,
We haven't actually even discussed it,
All right.
so
All
that's
right.
part of the discussion tonight.
Okay.
Because one of the problems is that creates us the checklist,
Yeah,
essentially creates what we're supposed to be inspecting. The question then is, we
I
have to
got you.
pay the inspector,
yes,
whomever that is. Woodard and Curran is ethically precluded because they're your consultants as well in another
They
life
are.
apparently.
yes.
So they're unwilling to do that portion of the job, so we'll have to employ someone to do that portion of the job. Once the checklist is created, then we're gonna need to staff it,
Yes,
so that's the problem.
I understand. So, yeah, Woodward and Curran, they came when we acquired our ready mix operations. They were our consultants for that, so that is the conflict there. Okay, and then you brought up something on, again, if I'm jumping ahead, just on the bonding. All right, I don't have a lot of information to give you on bonding. I know you want to discuss it tonight, and it's something we have to do some work on, but
Yeah, I mean, certainly you guys talk about it, but the bottom line is, it needs to be updated. It's a
Alright.
long time, there's still reference to Tilcon Capaldi. I think that there's some gray area there, we don't understand what we're dealing with on that standpoint when PJ Heating Company is
Yeah.
there. the actual value of it, if it's realistic. That's the short version, certainly the members of the
It's
board.
been this year ever since,
89, I think, it goes back.
Capaldi was there. And this came up with this figure then, so that was pretty good years ago. So we have to update the bond, which you guys got is $768,000. Last two meetings we had, I don't think, we had this crew here, with just a few of us in this. We wanted to go up to $1 million, because,
Okay.
basically, everything today is at least $1 million on the bond.
Okay.
Not if contractors to work in towns, they have to have $1 million bond. They have to post a bond for $1 million. Some places, if I can mention names, Acushnet Company, just to walk into their property, you gotta have a $2 million bond.
Yeah.
So it's pretty tough for us for keeping $768,000, so I made a proposal of $1 million, but I didn't get a full quote on it from the members that were here. They were kinda undecided if that was appropriate or not, but we have a whole new crew here, so.
Would you, so, do you want guidance?
We gotta cover
Yes.
ourselves
You want
too.
guidance from
Yes.
us on that, all right, so,
Yes.
so and I have not done this yet in Massachusetts, but I guess what I would suggest is that we go to our environmental consultant who does, looks at our mine plans and has, I think, proposed bonding amounts, and we can at least get an updated bonding amount based upon, so the bonding amount should be based upon the reclamation plan, the final reclamation plan, and it should be the money to accomplish that if it's abandoned. That's my feeling,
It could be more,
Correct.
I mean, if you're abandoned,
Yeah,
$1 million is the drop.
But we're happy to discuss that with you. And happy
Look at
to,
the back of my
I'm happy to get some guidance from you about that, because Bob's correct, I mean, nothing's less than $1 million. But if a Acushnet company wants $2 million, well, then we want 30.
and I can understand that. If,
We're not getting the money, it's just the bond that they
It's just a
post
bond.
up.
If-
A bond is not that
yeah.
expensive to buy, because we have to have purchase bonds in our company.
right, so if, as a cultural suggestion, if you want for 2019, if you wanna just go with a stock bond number that's increased, okay, then request that, and then, cause I don't know if it takes us a month to give you a bond, what a proposal is, and maybe it takes 2 days, I don't know, I haven't looked into it enough to know, so. Whatever you guys are comfortable with there, but I agree with, in theory, the process, that the bond should be more than 768,000, and that,
The question is how much?
yeah, and
Listen, I'm gonna just throw this out to the board, we've been working really hard. We've been doing this for better than a year to actually get up to date. I say, figure that out, talk to us, and do it. Let's
Alright.
get it right this year and move forward.
alright.
You know, that's what my
So you wanna do
suggestion.
it that way, or you wanna do the million, cause you don't know how long it's gonna take, and how much it's gonna cost for closure, you're talking closure, you guys walk away, you have to have a bond in order to close you, to bring it back to whatever natural is,
Right.
right?
So
That we did on
That would
all
only
the
be
other
like-
pits,
another 132,000, more than we're getting now.
correct? This
So-
is just a bond,
Yeah,
It's just a bond, yes.
so when you if you renew the bond on an annual basis, do we know what you do? Do you renew it annually, or do you?
Yeah, I
yeah,
think.
every year, when
yeah,
they get
yeah.
the permit.
So,
Yeah.
so then your recommendation then would be to bond at the million and then adjust when the
Well, that's my
consultant comes in.
recommendation, this is up to the
No,
board.
no, I'm
make
just
the
trying to
vote,
figure
yes
out
or
the
no.
process.
Yeah.
Well,
Bond at $1 million, and when
right,
is,
now I don't know if you have your folks tell you what it's gonna cost to
Yep.
close the pit. In the event that you walk away, what's it gonna cost the town to bring that pit back to whatever it is?
Yeah,
On regular gravel pits, we used to have grade and grass and do all that. This is a little different.
Yep.
It'll probably take you more than 2 or 3 months to put this thing together. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
that could be very, like I said, I have not looked into the process, I mean,
Yep.
typically, like I said, I haven't done it in Massachusetts, I've done it in other states, and
Yep.
it's a pretty comprehensive process, but there are also very defined formulas for it, so if
Yep.
you're gonna reclaim X amount of, quarry high wall, there's a figure that you use for, I don't know how it works in Massachusetts, but we'll start that process,
Well, your walls has got shelves,
yes,
so it's not like a gravel bank that we have to have a 2/3 slope.
yep,
You have shelves.
Mhm.
Each layer, 50 foot, 60 foot, whatever you have, is a shelf.
Yeah.
So that acts as a spot like a 2/3 slope. So if something happens, they can drop to a shelf, and then
Yeah.
the next shelf and all the way down. So I mean, basically, your pit, instead of being straight down like this, it's basically on a 2/3 slope all the way down.
That is correct. If you went from, so we would leave a final bench, that if you went from crest to crest to crest, it would be that,
It'd be almost like a
and
2/3
it'd
slope.
probably be a 2 to 1 probably,
Yeah.
in the case of a
You know, I
quarry.
don't know if these fellas in here are familiar with it,
Yeah.
but that's the way,
I think Roger wanted to say something.
Yeah, just give you a couple of comments. And we
Yeah.
looked at, and there was some material distributed as to what the bond had been, and it's a document from another time is what I saw.
Yeah.
So
Mhm.
I think that really needs to be refreshed to meet 2019 standards is number one. But I think, you know, that's the end goal. I think it's a two-part process. What is the decommissioning plan?
Yes,
What does that look like? And that's, I mean, you propose something, we review it and understand it. And then the bond amount, whatever that is, whether it's $1 million or $1 billion or whatever it is, it supports that decommissioning plan. But I think the basic bond that we have now seems to be from another time. And I think we need to figure out if that's even, if it's valid. I'm not sure what that does.
it's an old,
It's an old, it's.
Old
it's-
figure.
It's,
Well, let's be
But
honest,
just the
Tom.
document itself is
These guys aren't going
scary.
anywhere,
Yeah.
okay? They're good to the town, they do it, we're just trying to put this thing together. So,
just
if
a
we
couple
do the
of
$1 million
months.
one this year, you're not going anywhere next year. You're not
Yeah,
going anywhere for the next 5 or 10 years.
yeah, we're talking a 30 to 40 year decision.
Okay.
It's prudent for the
Right.
town to have the right, I mean, if it's 30 years old now, you might as well make it up
Yep.
to date now for the next, you know, hopefully it's not the next 30 years, but, you
Yep.
know, it's realistically it could be
So if you
something.
put the $1 million in now, and we investigate, or you investigate how much it is
So
to
we can
close
update
it.
for next year?
Yeah,
I mean, we can probably update
immediately.
at any given time. I don't know what the timing, I don't think it's,
So I
I'm
guess
just
that-
making a
yeah.
suggestion, you guys can.
I don't
throw
think
a
they're gonna
comment.
run anywhere, Mark.
Neither do I. I mean,
We had a problem years ago with a garbage guy. He folded up in the middle of our town,
mhm.
and we had to jump his bond. And that's the only way that we're gonna use the bond. If they decide to pick up and move out of here, then we'd have to jump the bond, and
Yep.
the bondsman will have to
I
pick
think
up
we
the
have a
tab.
plan.
but
So
let's
my,
just,
so my
It's just to
opinion,
cover the town's interest, just in
what-
case
so
of something.
the way
did
I'm
happen.
looking at it is, so for $100,000, why, if they already have the 700,000, why just not leave it alone
I think the
until they
bond
get
is
it?
renewed every year, so.
It's an annual, yes,
So
annual.
it's already, they
Is
have to.
it?
Same with
Is
the
it?
permit, every year the permit's.
Every year.
Do we get a new bond every year?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
We
supposed
do.
to update the new bond every year.
Right. The
So,
way
I-
we get
I
it
would
is
say-
in question, but we definitely get it.
what do you mean question? I don't know.
Well, we just
What
get
what I
the
saw
stack
was
of-
seemed to be,
Yeah, we get the same information all the time,
Yeah.
and it doesn't seem as crisp and clear as what I would, we have this very odd,
Yeah.
language that
It's a
has to do with
certificate
you
of
not.
understanding they had.
Yes, exactly, so
And I didn't
mean,
understand that either, and
So,
I have,
so we just, so every year I just get a request, I think it comes from the town, you know, or even through the bonding company, and it just says, you know, refresh the bond, we just
Yeah.
run the process every year, it's just, it's almost repetitive in that
Yeah.
nature.
I've never seen a certificate of understanding.
Yeah.
So-
Any bonds that we post,
That bond.
that's a long
Yeah,
gone
it is.
thing.
It's just-
Today, it's gonna be a bond. That way the bond company can cover
You may be
people.
getting it, but we're not.
And
Yeah, I think
we
that-
gotta cover ourselves, the town.
Yeah.
It's not that we're looking to make money, we're not making a penny on that. It's
Nope.
just to cover that if you guys decide to bail out, we have something to jump back on. And $1 million to me is really a drop in the bucket.
Yeah.
You know, for a bond for you people of your size. I would think that's a drop, but like you said, Mark said that he would be willing to go to a couple of months for you to see if you guys can straighten out, see
How
how
much
much.
you want, you don't
Your
know.
company
Well,
may say
so-
it's worth more than $1 million.
So let me do this, is, let me reach out to our consultant, it'll be Steve Mullane, and they've done most of this work for us at our operations. I'll reach out and get some guidance on how long it's gonna take, what the process is, get back to Joe and just say, hey, it's a 2-month process, let's set a date of this when we're gonna have, you know, so, and Roger's right, so the step one is that we develop either an updated, revised, whatever it is, and, you know, reclamation plan, which would be the end of mine life and what it looks like. you guys would approve that, and then we build the cost to get from,
Where we are now to what
yeah,
it is.
roughly, you know, that would be the,
Yep.
the simple, so you understand the process, so.
And if by chance, if the board's okay with that, and if by chance it's gonna take this excruciatingly long period of time, then we'll just bond it for $1 million for the time being, maybe update it, and then when the time comes and we've got a real, we'll meet again and you can change it halfway through.
I would just be guessing, my guess is 2 to 3 months is not unrealistic, although it could be significantly faster, but I wouldn't wanna sit here and promise you that, but.
And at 2 to 3 months, then maybe we could just ride it for
Even
the
the
next
$1
year.
million bond is really
Yep.
not much
Yep.
money.
Well, if,
Uh,
so what do you get for a copy? You just get, what, show me what you get for a copy of the bond, I don't even know if we can change it.
It's a certificate of understanding.
This is, and
I
then,
didn't
but
really like that.
it goes out to
No, I
Tilcon
mentioned that
though.
last time.
You know?
That's us.
Dan, you okay with that? You want-
Okay, it's just a
Yeah,
matter
I'm
of-
fine with the $1 million thing, yeah, that's
We'll,
fine.
we'll make a motion on that, and we can vote upon it. You can,
This is what you would
the
get
board can
for-
say, or the town can say they want a $5 million bond. We're just trying to be a little realistic from the
That's for a different
768,000 to a
company.
million. That's peanuts to me. A bond like that probably costs you maybe $200 or $300. That's all it costs.
It's
Yeah.
just one piece.
What we get's very confusing, and I'm not sure we've got what we think we've got.
All right, well, so those are, like I said, we get it, we file it every year, I mean, we file, obviously, the construction work we do this.
I'm not sure that we've got what we think we've
All
got,
right.
so I think it's time to just revisit that.
Is that the most like updated one, like you do for other,
Can I see, Joe?
anybody else you do
I
any
had
bonding
some
for
stuff
it?
at the last
Uh,
meeting.
Pretty much the package.
I know you're not
It
doing it for any
doesn't
other towns,
look,
but I mean, have you-
it doesn't look like it's up to date, but if it's signed and dated, they probably just take the same form and
Yeah.
probably.
It
just
is,
process
it's
it.
always the same stuff.
Was Jim Rieger at the time
Yeah,
that we had this proposed, and that was a long time ago when Jim was there.
Everything I've got here is 18
At
years
least
old.
20 years?
So,
There's a lot of that stuff, but it's exactly the same every year. They give us exactly the same stuff every year.
do we have any of the, do we have the 2018 stuff?
It's
And all this-
2018, same exact as that.
Same thing.
They just
It's
send us a copy of the
They
same
just send
the
us-
same 20-year-old documents every time. Oh, now I'm terrified.
Why are you terrified?
It's 20 documents
going
dated
anywhere.
20 years ago.
Where they going?
Oh, my
I don't think they're gonna go anywhere.
Let's move on. I don't want to respond to that.
Well, respond to it. You're sitting in the
But you
board, you
just-
respond to it.
Well, we shouldn't be relying on 20-year-old documents.
But
to-
the same, it's the same thing for the last years, that's why we're gonna do
There should be,
everything now.
That's why we're
document
changing it now.
dated 2019 that reaffirms the bond that we have in place that says, Dear Town of Acushnet, XYZ Insurance Company affirms to you that PJ Keating or Tilcon or somebody is insured for $750,000 in the event that this happens. I'm not sure that's worth the paper it's printed on, Bob, quite honestly. Whether or not they're
Listen,
going anywhere, this is
We
kind
wanted to
of
change it, and the board, we voted upon that a long time ago, and the
20 years ago.
wasn't in
probably.
favor of changing it.
Okay.
So what
well, we're in
am I
favor
gonna
of
do, argue
changing
with
it
the
now,
board,
so
one
Yeah,
person?
well,
I can't win.
I'm
So-
prepared to
Majority
agree.
vote
We'd
wins.
like that updated, and they will do it.
They're
If
gonna work
it's
on
gonna
it.
take you a little long, the
We
million's
get it
fine until you
100%
get there.
right, but it's
So
gonna be
that's
right.
my motion. You got that down, to make it sound
What's the motion?
intelligent?
One more time.
Okay, well, I wanna hear the motion again.
The motion is to impose the bond of $1 million pending review at a future time,
You're gonna give a time factor?
2 months,
All right.
okay? And if he doesn't get it done in 2 months, he'll come back and we'll have an extension. And I want a fresh bond, not an 18-year-old document countersigned.
Yep.
Okay.
Based on a reclamation plan.
Based on a
Yeah.
reclamation plan to be determined, to be submitted, because that's what.
but even when you file the 2019 permit, you want a fresh bond document that
Yeah.
looks like it's, like I said,
It's for $1 million instead of 732.
but we still want a fresh
768.
Well,
document.
it'll have to be a fresh document because the amount's changing.
That's right.
Correct.
So,
we add to that as well.
We can use a typewriter.
We just don't want something that's gonna say, send us a certificate of understanding. We don't want that no more.
I,
That's out of the
Yeah,
ballpark picture. I tried getting rid of that years ago, and the board wouldn't let me do it,
So
so.
so the bonds that I see on a regular basis have an effective date and an expiration date.
Yeah.
Yes,
Could we incorporate that into
January.
the bond?
all the
document?
bonds come through that way, year after year.
It's always an
But
annual.
these didn't,
We don't have one.
but this one did, this one's
But
eight.
this one's a certificate of understanding.
Okay.
Okay, so
We're
when the bond
working on
comes
it.
in, we'll present it to the board for approval of its form,
Mhm.
okay?
Okay, all in favor of that?
Aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion passes.
So that's good, you get the bond part of it. This is the permit part that we gave to you. This is gonna be basically the new permit, which has all the conditions that we, again, we discussed over the past year, that Woodard and Curran helped create. Really worked on that in regards to covering all the different things, all the different regulations that PJ Keating is subject to.
So they've reviewed this final form of the permit as well?
Not the final form of the permit, this paper right here, but all the body of the document is here.
The body of the documents from a Woodward and Curran suggested.
And it's just simply it's a repeat of what it is, and then just us granting it. That obviously would be given out by the selectmen. What I'm gonna give them tonight is a application, which we haven't issued them an application for this year, to renew for the permit, which we put exactly that information inside of that, so they'll be signing the application. This is what you'll sign to issue the permit, from the soil board standpoint. So the soil board will approve this or not, and then this will go, if you approve it, this will go to the selectmen, and it'll be signed by the selectmen.
So you
We're
need a motion
approving
to
the
approve the
application.
form?
The
and the
completed application goes to the board of selectmen.
Then the permit would go, yep, that would go to the selectmen, but this would be the permit that would be ultimately signed by the selectmen, because the way that our soil board, our soil conservation regulations work is that the selectmen actually issue the permit, the soil board approves it.
Okay, I got one little question here about the soils. PJ Keating is not removing soil, they're removing rock. Town of Acushnet. I would like to know about, if we could put a wording in here about ledge or bluestone that is being removed from the town instead of just plain old soil. Because the soils that they've got, that they're removing to get into the rock, they're using back there to make berms for making the sand plants and the silt. It's not being removed, it's just sitting back there, so they're not removing it out of the site. But what they're removing is the rock that they're taking out. The soil board is for the soils years ago, as we never had permits with them. And we never had permits years ago for soil removal of gravel pits in town. But it all came about that we had to have soils removal permits. The state made us come into this. But I like to word something in the document here that it is a stone removal permit.
So the
That's something that we can look into after this meeting is done, or you guys can make a motion to accept what I'm putting to it. I don't know if I'm putting it up right, but it's basically, it's like a soil removal permit, but they're not removing the soils, they're removing the rock out of the town.
What does soil mean? Does soil have a meaning?
Soils
Is this
were,
business?
years ago was all to do with gravel pits.
Yes.
And then went into the quarries. And that all conjuncted.
I'm just wondering if this is the word soil. and-
So essentially, we
is
just
in
want to
this
expand the definition of soil.
Soil.
Yes,
What does soil
to
mean?
soil and,
It is expanded on our
It's
application.
exploited.
oh, it is on that application?
That is covered, the
Okay.
rock is covered through our soil conservation bylaw.
Oh, I didn't see that. That's something
Yeah,
new this year?
No, that's the application that they fill out, that they've always filled out, that has that specific part, but the rock part of it, that, what you're saying, I understand, actually has been tested through our town council
Okay.
to make sure that we
This way
are covering
everybody's
all the
on track
bases.
of what's going on here, you know?
Yep,
They're not gonna say, well, we're not soils, you know?
Yeah.
But that's part of the soil removal of the rock also.
Yeah, and typically there's a definition in most, whether it's, what we do a lot of earth removal permits, and then there'll be further definition of what earth products are. And it's soil, silt, stone, rock, clay, gravel, has all of the
Because
functions.
stone isn't soil,
Yes.
so I just wanted to get that straight, with us.
Well, then if we're the soil board, do we have the authority to issue a rock removal permit?
Basic,
That bow ties a little tight.
basically, Brian, it's a pit.
Yeah.
It's like a gravel pit, you could call them, they're a pit there themselves, so it would fall into the same thing, that's what the.
So your definition on the application covers this.
It does cover,
Fine.
that's all I
Okay.
wanted to know.
Motion to approve the application in the permit form as presented.
All in favor?
Second. Aye.
And then I think we should fine them for not having their application
The
in.
motion passes?
Can we get, I'm not sure I saw the application. Did you get that on? I saw the permit, I'm not sure I saw the
So-
application.
The application is really the same application that's been going out year after year with a modification of,
The additional language that would give.
so that they're actually gonna sign it, so that they're aware of.
This is
This
what we're
is what's
asking
getting
for.
signed by this is getting signed by the soil board and by EJ Keating. This is gonna get signed by selectmen, everybody's on the same page.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Here.
That should be pretty good. Any other questions from you people? Kevin?
Now we have to decide what it's
Jeff?
gonna cost us.
Well, it says a fee here, 16,000 on the
Well,
top,
we're gonna
right?
talk about the fee.
Because it states on one of the other things, the fee 16,000, but the town pays for, the inspector shall be required to notify the owner or petitioner before making any inspections. The board of inspector may retain a civil engineer to inspect the site and do such engineering as necessary to determine conformity with the plans and conditions of the permit, and such necessary costs for engineering shall be paid by the town.
Yeah.
I presume that comes out of that 16,000 somewhere?
That's, no, the fee is more
Just
so
for-
for the inspection and for any potential, yes, I mean realistically, at the end of the day, any of it, but.
This fee is intended to cover everything.
And that's the question, does it?
Right,
If
so
I
this
have
is
to
really-
pay for an employee, because Woodard Current cannot do the inspection,
Or you bring somebody else in?
and I already bring somebody else in, so that needs to be covered in the fee. Now, you could change the fee schedule so that it would be the $8,000 this year to create the standard,
Mhm.
plus the direct cost of the employee or the consultant we bring in to do the inspection. So then it would be fair. In other words, they're
Yeah, it's
only
just the town's gonna
replacing.
pay for the inspector to go in and do it, correct? Okay.
So that would be one way of doing it. Or you can pick a number that should be enough,
Mhm.
but, then the unfairness of that is we're charging them more than the potential cost to us.
Well, it could be a per inspection charge that we
Correct.
assess.
So my recommendation would be, it should be on a cost basis. The permit should simply be what it costs us.
That's more than fair.
I have a thought, if I might. So here we are in March, okay, we're working on this March along. And there's the discussion, we're in the process right now of, we're on the cusp of moving forward to hire a part-time health agent. That part-time health agent will actually get appointed by you, the soil board, as your agent, and ultimately will be doing the inspections that we've been setting up. That's the ultimate goal here. We just gotta start to get there, which hopefully will be this year, this calendar year. The thought about the $16,000, that was looked at as a reasonable expense in regards to what that part-time health agent would be. That's the reason why that number's there.
Sounds like.
All right, so that's, they're not
They're calling
necessarily.
this a health agent or a soil board agent?
So the part-time health agent will be appointed, as the full-time health agent has in the past, be appointed as the soil board inspector also. So they will actually be the health agent, but they'll also be the soil board inspector, so they'll be able to actually regulate
Both.
through the soil board bylaw, but they'll also be able to utilize.
We can use it.
I understand, just asking a question.
No, I mean.
So, what I was gonna say about the fee in regards, and if this works out, and, and Brian, what you're thinking there, is maybe by the time this gets actually issued, it might be 6 months into it. In regards to fare, maybe that fee, we charge them half the year's fee, which would be the $8,000, which certainly is not out of whack with what's going on with Woodard and Curran right now, which we'll discuss later.
But Joe, you can't find anybody to work for $8,000 a year.
No, because again, we haven't hired the health agent yet. By the time we get to the part-time health agent and get that spun up, realistically, all of this is looking like it's gonna be solid for next year.
I'd leave that fee for $16,000, just the way it is.
Okay, I'm just throw it out there, I have that, I'm just saying that.
I mean, you know, as a town, we've got a responsibility, I think, to provide some services to the taxpayers in the community, and
We will.
And I think that the challenge we've got with your facility is some of the services that we're being asked to provide are unique to your facility alone, that, you know, we don't need, Woodward and Curran's proposal charges $8,500 to do nothing but help us deal with your facility. So to the extent that we've got charges that are unique to your being in the community and that we've got to regulate you, I think we've got to find a way to pass those on. And again, I think we want to be fair. I don't think we're looking to make money on any of this, but, you know, we don't want to burden the taxpayers of the community either with expenses that are solely related to us regulating what you're doing in the community. So I think we've got to figure out what that number is.
So is just some, so we have a quarry in Lancaster, Mass, where we fall under inspections, and our quarterly inspections via like a Woodward, not a Woodward and Curran, but something similar to that. It's probably, you know, the full year bill, I'm sure, it's probably a little less than this, but that's not out of the ballpark. It's probably, you know, $3,000 per inspection, and there's an end of the year report on there, but that's a quarterly inspection process and identified. So when we talk about a cost basis, and this permit allows time to time, so you had in there, something there every day, what's the cost basis, you know? But, you know, so just to give you some background on what, how that works.
I would think the inspection would theoretically, I mean, I know it says time to time, but I think it would be no more than quarterly unless there's an issue that drags us back in.
And again, I mean, based on what we're really planning on doing, yeah, we're gonna be in there quarterly, but, you know, during their season, we're gonna be working on this daily. You know, that would be the intent of going through this process, to get another body that would be there, just to help keep track of the fugitive dust, at the very minimum, you know, and, you know, we obviously have the noise complaints, we have the dust complaints. So quarterly is the fact that we're gonna go in there and we're gonna go through everything with them, and we're gonna make sure that, yes, they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, and we're checking it. The inspections quarterly are one thing. The other part of what we're gonna be doing is something different, because we're doing it all. We're not just doing that one particular job of that engineering company going in there and writing a report. We're gonna go in there, we're gonna write the report, we're gonna do the inspection, but then we're gonna continue inspecting the next day and the next day, and deal with any complaints that come in from dust, from noise, from odor at night. We don't know, you know, sometimes we get it at night. Jeff manages over there, he's been very, very, very attentive to us every time we've done it, but we're still gonna interact. So, I don't know, there's a lot more to it, you know, Kevin being honest with us in regards to the price. I really truly believe we're gonna be doing more than just quarterly inspections.
Yes, because once we get a complaint, somebody's got to go out and go check it. They call the Board of Health's office, so one of us is going to go out and check it.
So
They call the Selectman's office, you're gonna turn around and call Joe and say, hey, Joe, get this guy out there and go check it.
So is the $16,000 gonna cover it, or is it not gonna cover it, so?
Reasonably, I think that it would come where with the thought is it would be somewhere close to what the cost of the health agent would be, half of the cost of the health agent.
So again, this is gonna have to be a trial kind of thing until we get this all up and running.
Well, the calendar works on our side. The fiscal year doesn't begin to July 1. You're already, you know, by that time, you're more than halfway through the 2019 permit. You couldn't possibly spend too much in the remaining 6 months, and that's beginning their slower season again. So we have 19 to see without killing them too much on the price. I mean, I have to
I
tell you,
mean, all winter long.
from a perspective of, user pays, great, they're fine with that.
Yeah, all winter
But I
long.
need to make sure that I can match the expense and the revenue, so that, I tease him, but in all fairness, I wanna make sure that it lines up. I don't wanna cost the taxpayer
Well,
any money.
Yeah, well,
But I
that's the
don't
thing,
wanna
so could we put,
gouge it.
if you're thinking 8,000, could you keep that money at the 16 and them guys getting reimbursed if it didn't cost the taxpayers? I mean, it didn't cost that much money for the inspections, could they be reimbursed or put it towards next year's permit, the extra
I
funding?
think it could be,
that all could
it could be a consideration in setting next year's permit.
Yeah.
I never like giving money back.
No,
but,
because
you know,
if you did something like that, we say New Bedford, you don't use your services, they don't reimburse you your money back. Once
No, but
that fee
I-
is done, that
But
fee
I
is
find,
there.
if we find out at the end of the thing that we grossly overcharged them, I have no problem with going back next year and saying, well, we sort of,
Yeah, this year it's 10.
yeah, so.
We can
I think we can
adjust
take it
the-
into
we can adjust it.
consideration.
But if it goes over too, Brian, we don't wanna have the taxpayers paying for this either.
No, but
I
that,
mean,
you
why
only
should-
got 6 months.
Yeah. Right now,
That-
this
that's gonna
winter,
occur.
they didn't crush all winter, so
Right.
the dust was down to the minimum. I had Jeff put calcium chloride on the roads this past winter, and I seen him put it down, I watched him put it down, and that kept a lot of the dust down. There's days that you can't put it down because you gotta put a little water on the road
Right,
in order to have the calcium chloride work. And calcium chloride, when you put it on the road, which you know yourself, you're a contractor too, that'll work for a week, week and a half, as long as you don't have rain washes it away. But faithfully, Jeff has been out there putting the calcium down on the road to keep the dust down. So I'm happy that finally he got some calcium. I don't know where he got it from, but he got it and he did what he had to do. And that helped out quite a bit. So that did, we didn't have to have an inspecting for the, for the months that he was taking care of roadways. For stone, they don't have no stone in place, so I mean.
but I mean, we couldn't hire a health agent until the first of the fiscal year. So that means
July.
only, they got July, August, September, October, November,
That's a crucial
December, and
month.
you're done.
Yeah.
So I don't know that we could spend 16,000.
I think I
other than
could,
the
I think I
8
should, would encourage you.
Joking.
So
Yes,
the,
we're
I'm gonna,
encouraged.
just one more thing that we didn't talk about, and I know that it's been discussed, but on the flip side, when we actually have that conversation about Woodard and Curran, if you guys choose to move forward with this, with Woodard and Curran, that's like an $8,500 bill to get the first part of it set up. The second part that's not on there, and they haven't quoted us yet, is to do an inspection, a mock inspection, if you will. This way that
That's not
there's
part of
no,
it. I don't think so.
there's no conflict with Keating. Keating would obviously agree to have Woodard and Curran in there along with us and go through this. So they would be on site, not that, again, they're not the cheapest people in the world, and they know that, these guys know that too. But to have somebody physically down here and spending a day and then potentially going through that structured checklist of what we're supposed to do, to really follow up on how we're gonna report all this, there's a chunk of money that isn't even associated with that $8,000.
Let me ask you this now, I thought it would be a conflict of interest if Woodward and Curran is gonna go, these guys have him as a consultant already.
Right,
So we have to find somebody else.
No, it would be, what they suggested to us is because that conflict is there, and this is through Woodard and Curran, is that it would be an agreed upon it wouldn't be a full blown. It's not like we're gonna go in there, we're gonna go through it with the guys, we're gonna go through it with our consultant, but it's not going, they'd have to
It's
agree
not
to
a real
it.
inspection.
It's
number
not a
one.
real inspection, just to
Number
go
two,
through the process.
They have to get permission to let Woodward and Curran come in through their lawyers or whatever, it may be a conflict of interest. Am I close on this one?
Yeah, and it'd be a local decision, and I don't,
Yep.
that mock inspection would obviously benefit us, right?
Yep.
So it would give us a feeling for what the town's looking for, and it would
It's
also.
just, do you need permission to let us bring Woodward and Curran in? I don't have an answer for that one.
Probably not to the level of permission that the town would need, so we could probably move on that pretty quickly.
Okay, no problem, just,
Yeah.
The town really had it made for at least 20 years. I used to go in there and see the problems, and bring to their attention before I brought attention to Kevin, and Kevin, I can't say anything wrong about Kevin. Whatever I asked Kevin to do for dust, to protect the dust from the neighbors, he was right on top. I talked to Jeff was right on top, so I mean, the town was really getting a freebie out of me, for me going in there and watching over their property, making sure that they're in compliance and with the town and the neighbors, and the guys worked as hard as they could to do what they could. I mean, they've got water wagons, they got, at the time, when, the other president was there, was, Jim. He got the big water buffaloes to spray everything down, and then it was very costly for them, because they kept breaking down their old pieces of machinery, and then they came up with a sprinkler system, around the perimeter, and that worked pretty good for a while until things got busted up, guys backing into them. You know, things happen like that, it's a quarry, you know, and you got truck drivers in there. So, that can tell you right off the bat, but luckily the town had Joe and I, or Ralph, or whoever was here, would go in and try correcting problems as they were coming along, and we'd go see the neighbors and talk to them, and try ironing out things. I think they come a long way. If you're going back maybe 30, 40 years ago, the place was so bad that you couldn't walk in the place and stood there. It was just a big old dust bowl. Now, I'm talking 30, 40 years. I've been going there 58 years myself. That's a long time.
I don't think you were that old.
Yeah, I'm that old, trust me. But they put up, I call it the Berlin Wall, that big wall along the south side. They planted trees up top to keep the dust down. They've worked quite a bit to help the neighbors keeping the dust, because at one time, you went in back at a Quarry Parky car day, 5 minutes later, you couldn't see out of it. At least now, you get a little bit of dust sometimes. Like I tell them, you guys gotta watch the northeast winds. When those northeast winds come in, it picks up everything and just blows it right up that way. Am I right or wrong?
We have to send an email to the president of the region when we're shutting the plant down.
I've gone in there and asked you to shut the plant down. Am I right or wrong, Jeff?
Yeah.
At least 3 or 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. And the man just tells us super over there, whoever foreman is there, close it down, too much dust. So, I mean, they were in compliance with, basically with us. So, I mean, I can't say they're great.
I got no problems, it's just
They
this.
work along with us.
Bob, are we happy then with what we've decided here?
I would think so. I would think I'd leave it at 16,000 and go from there. I would. That would be my motion.
That'll get us through this year, you're thinking, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely, and to Brian's point, it's, I think it's gonna end up being fair.
Okay.
I mean, it really is,
And
and then next year it'll work right into what I.
I mean, it's something we'll take a look at and keep revisiting.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair price.
Yeah,
You know?
I'll second Bob's motion, and just to the PJ Keating reps, like, you know, we're learning, I think you can hear us learning out loud, and, I mean, we're trying to be fair to everyone, so, if it turns out the 16,000's too much,
Next year we'll
there'll be an
adjust it.
there'll be an adjustment next year. If it turns out it's not enough,
We get adjusted
there'll be an
on it.
adjustment, there'll be an
Equal and
adjustment as well.
opposite
We're learning together as to what's required, so.
Yeah, this fee will not be the deciding factor on whether this process is a success or failure, so.
We don't know yet, it's not in place. Once it gets in place, and then we'll know what we can do from there. Next year we'll know. Well, that's my motion on the floor, we
I
got a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No, I
Motion
understand,
passes.
Kevin, that you're not going to be doing this job anymore?
No, as of Friday, I will be leaving the company, so moving back to Pennsylvania.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You've been fun, you know, good to deal with and honest and ethical, and we've appreciated everything you've done.
Yeah, great.
Can't say it's all been fun, but.
Yes.
I would say it's all been fun.
It's all experience. And,
Kevin's been a good man. He listens and he really tries working hard to get things accomplished for Keating. And I can verify that because I met you a long time ago, and we've had many discussions at the quarry.
Yeah.
And the man is a man of his word. And when he says he was gonna do something, he did it for me. So I can't, when you leave here, you can leave here with a heart saying that you did your job, and I think you did a pretty good job of it. Now, hopefully, the new guy comes in, is good too.
Well, we won't like him, just that.
We're not gonna like them. We are not gonna like them.
Jeff's gonna take over.
I don't think
Next Friday.
How many years you been there, Jeff?
5.
How many years you been, Jeff? I mean,
So I've been with CRH, the big company, for 20 years. It's the only place I've ever worked. But
Wow.
with PJ Keating for 7 years now. 7 years.
that's about right, huh?
So
5 to 7 years.
yeah, and I
Sometimes they get to 7-year rich. I don't know what the problem there is.
yeah, just that's where I'm from, and had a good opportunity back there, and family and home is home. So, but
Congratulations to you.
thank you.
Wish you the best, really.
I told Jeff my number won't change for at least a couple months. So
But you'll be blocking, you can block calls.
Yeah, the number won't change for a couple months. If I see 508-998-0200, I'll probably answer it still. So, and then tell you to call Jeff. But, I appreciate it. Like I said, it's been a learning experience for all of us, and I hope the end result's better for the town.
No, you've been a gentleman, and we appreciate your services and wish you the best, really.
Thank you.
Wish you the best. And that concludes me.
Is there anything else then that we need to do tonight?
Well, I think
Are we voting on the Woodard and Curran?
we think you have to
Make a
vote.
motion to accept the Whittemore and Curran contract and to execute it immediately,
As written?
as written.
Second?
Second?
Discussion? I gotta go. This is a lot of money for.
I'm sorry, are you new here?
I'm sorry. It just, I mean, sometimes they quote things and you say, okay, well, there must be a lot of work behind it. And, I mean, I just look at this and
2019, nobody worked for $2 an hour no more.
$8,500 or $8,000 for, we're gonna write up a checklist and we're gonna train you for an hour and a half. Seems like a lot of money, but maybe I don't understand.
Hey, a plumber goes out and gets
Okay.
$100
Pay
an
for those
hour.
master's degrees.
Yeah, we have PhDs. I don't know.
I don't.
Who's signing this?
A plumber goes out and gets $100 an hour.
I
He
know,
has
this
a wrench
is-
in one
this is
hand
a
and
lot.
a little suitcase in the other, $100 an hour.
This is $8,000. This is.
Whoever signs it, it's open-ended.
Who's signing this?
You, Brian.
It's addressed to Joe.
Congratulations, Joe.
Yeah,
I think the school board will authorize Joe to sign this procurement.
We've got a motion and a second, and so we should aye, and then
Aye.
Joe will be authorized aye.
All right,
Where's your funding source?
16,000 we're getting from these guys.
No, that doesn't work, that's going to the general fund.
So that's from
His
the,
article was article last year, with that.
yes, this is what this is being used.
Oh, that might be, is that
That's
article
what
that?
it's coming-
Okay,
yep.
yeah, good.
That's where this.
There is an article coming up for this.
Okay.
Not
No, there's
for
only an
this.
article
We got
outstanding.
the article last year, which was the soil board, board of health combination to move forward, do inspections, to put this together, to work towards the part-time health agent, to do all that, so.
Okay, so now it's the next question is, what are we doing about a part-time health agent?
Well, I think at this point, the way that the Board of Health looked at it, it's taken a move forward to start getting into what we're gonna do here, so that we have something that we can actually have a discussion when we're looking at the part-time health agent.
We need the $8,000 checklist before we.
Well, there's that, and the other problem is if you're gonna do that, I need it into the operating budget, and it's not there now.
So it's not in the operating budget, right? It's not in the operating budget this year, for this budget. We didn't put it in this.
Right, so if we're gonna do it,
Should it be-
you're gonna need to do that before I have to go to press in a month.
Yeah.
So the way that I see it at the moment, that would be ideal to hurry up and get this part-time health agent in here, but for now,
Still
this
gonna
is
have
all,
to advertise.
this is all falling on me, you know, for the most
Okay.
part. So we're gonna
So
continue.
the process would be, it's not so much that you hire the person right now, is that for the July 1st budget,
you allocate. the
you
funds.
gotta have the funds to do
Funds
it.
Together.
Otherwise, if you don't put it through this town meeting, it's not until we have another town meeting that you can fund that position. So, if you're gonna do this, the Board of Health has to authorize this to be adjusted into their budget now.
The Board of Health or the Soil Board?
It's gonna
Either
pour it
or
out.
or both, I don't
Okay.
care,
I
one
would
of
think
you
the
has
soil
to.
board, I would rather have the
No,
soil.
I'm just asking the question. I don't
Right,
know.
one or the other
Yep.
has to make the request to the finance committee.
Because-
Budget line item?
We have to create one,
The Board of Health would have to accept that.
correct.
I'm only one vote in the board, and if the other two members says no, let it go through the, soil board. I would think the soil, should go through the soil board.
It's
But then
it's
that would
either,
be
in all
taking-
sincerity,
That would be
it's
taking
either,
your guy.
it would
Board of
be,
Health.
it's 6 of one, half done the other as far as the outcome is concerned. Since the title though is Assistant Health Agent, I would prefer it to be authorized under the Board of Health, and the job description be there to cover the soil board. But I will defer to the job, to the board,
It
I
seems to
don't
make
care.
more sense.
But since the title is Health Board, and this is the office of the Board of Health, and he or she will be working out of here.
Because my board don't like to spend too much money, they're really penny pinchers.
Well,
There,
but here we have a
I mean-
revenue, and we'll have a matching expense, so I'm okay.
As long as somebody backs them up on it, you know.
I would say to the extent that this position is, I mean, this is only, there's gonna be some hours put into monitoring PJ Keating, but I thought we talked about the fact that there'd be other duties supporting the Board of Health mission
There
that
is.
wouldn't be funded by PJ Keating certainly, but
Right.
to the extent that that is part of the plan, I would think you'd want the position under the Board of Health.
So I wanna make sure that we leave the door open here, so we don't have to have another meeting of the soil board instantly.
Yeah, because he's
we're running
here
out
all
of
the time.
So I would make
I
the,
know,
yes, I would
you
make the
guys are.
motion that the soil board will accept it under the soil board, if that's the decision of the Board of Health, but somebody has to put it through.
All right.
And so we'd prefer it to be the Board of Health, because that's going to be the title of the position. So, and you have a revenue source, so this is not gonna be hard to take to the Finance Committee and then to take to the Board of Selectmen ultimately, because I can match the revenue with the expense.
Okay.
I'll
So,
second that.
As long as you people back us up.
right.
I mean, if we
So I'm
put in for
making a
money in the
motion
Board of
that
Health,
this
they're gonna
board
say,
recommend
what
the
do you
Board
want
of
this
Health to be
for?
covered
You
under
know?
their budget, but in the event that they do not, we'll cover it under the soil board budget and re-propose our budget back to the Finance Committee.
Very good.
But I'd really like it to be the Board of Health.
Okay.
I think that makes more
I'll
sense.
second it. All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Motion passes.
and again, just from the side, you don't want it on the soil board, because then you're the bosses. And you have to meet with the soil board inspector, whereas this way, you know, I can be
We already
the
got it,
boss.
Joe, don't worry about
Yeah, I
it.
know,
We got
I
it.
just
Don't
wanted
worry
to
No,
about
I
think
know what
about
you, I know
that.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
You got it, aware of the.
Because he's here full time.
And so is the Board of Health, I mean, they're
Yep.
always meeting, they're always involved, so this way it keeps everything moving in.
And to
just-
be honest with you, the future of the soil board, if there's eventually only one permit holder,
Out the window.
if the future of the soil board is the ground. We're taking it out because.
It's gonna merge into the Board of Health is what's
I'll
gonna
make a
happen.
motion.
Just gonna merge into the Board of Health.
Second?
Unfortunately, you don't have to do
Who's the
it.
soil board?
You have to make a bylaw change to dissolve the soil board, but I have to be honest with you, if right now you have 2 permits, you go down to 1, there's no point.
There will be, it'll just be these guys,
Right.
that's it. Yep.
Well, I wish I had a gravel pit.
Well, they could sell you one.
No, that's not a gravel
Money
pit.
talks.
And
So
a
before
yellow
we cut
box.
these guys loose,
Yeah.
are there any internal hoops that the inspector would need to clear with you folks before they have access to the site?
If they're with somebody, they don't need the MSHA training, it'd be nice to get them MSHA training. But if I escort them, or one of the foremen escort them, they're with somebody, they don't officially need the MSHA training. If they're only there for a few hours or for a shift, if it's something that's multiple days or extends, then they would be required. If they wanted to go someplace by themselves on the site, they would need the MSHA training.
From a liability standpoint, I always want them escorted.
Yeah, we're not gonna, I mean, we escort every inspector, and obviously, in most inspectors, we have the right to it. There's no qualification
It's
for our right.
fair, it's reasonable, it's reasonable.
That's why
We have to
that's
tell
why-
you we're coming to see you ahead of time.
That's the
correct?
reason why I went to
You have to
MSHA
notify
training to
us.
do people.
You have to, you have to notify us before making the inspection, but I think that might be as simple as when you show up, you're notifying us out.
Well, that's the reason why I went through MSHA training with you people, because I was doing the inspections at the time.
Yeah.
So in order for me to know what's going on in the pit there, by right, you should be MSHA trained.
I say, it's a good
So I'm
process.
confused.
Yeah.
The part-time inspector, are they MEMCHA trained or not?
They don't need to
They
be.
don't need it.
As long as they would with Kevin,
I'd say for professional development, we might
Get 'em?
do it
Down the road.
down the
Yeah.
road,
Right.
but it's not a requirement of the job.
As long as they're escorted by someone from the
Who is?
plant. Good, simple and sweet.
Make a motion to adjourn?
You got anything else? We got to
There's
sign any
minutes.
papers,
Sorry.
minutes?
Minute permit.
there's minutes and.
We have one
Motion to
other
approve the
permit.
minutes of November 19th, 2018.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Gonna sign- Is this one we're gonna
That's
sign?
it, yeah.
Oh, I can't sign them.
Why can't you?
If you want to. Hang out more.
Good luck.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Sign it.
What else we don't sign, if you're not there, you can't sign it.
You can even vote to approve the minutes.
Yeah,
But I gotta get.
I read
Just
them.
think,
Yep.
like,
Well, I'm assuming you did your homework and stayed home and watched the rerun.
Sometimes.
It's on my list, I gotta.
When I get home at night, I'll try to look at it.
Are we doing this, are we doing the
Thank you.
Is that,
That's this one.
that is,
all electronics, so.
What do I say?
did we vote this already last time?
Where in Pennsylvania?
Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, I also have to
Western
do
I'll do the holidays for down for.
We approved Catino 19 last
Not quite the
time,
Pittsburgh.
so we need to approve that.
Yeah, I got.
PJ, can you need it?
We're not done yet.
We're gonna be in operation.
Hey, we don't want to throw you guys out, we got a few more things to do. Let's do them so we can
We
get
got
out
a
of
few
here.
more things.
Kevin,
Kevin,
disrespect.
nice knowing you.
Nice
Not as
meeting you.
yeah.
Good
You guys
luck.
home too.
So we're gonna approve this one.
Roger.
For
Thank you,
2000.
Kevin, good luck.
What do you need?
What else we got?
All right,
Take care, thanks.
all right.
We'll see you guys.
We still got some down here that can be signed. Brian says for me to sign the one that I was absent to, so.
Says action.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Approve Catino.
We need to approve Catino.
That's good. Okay, can we have a motion to, let me see, put these stupid things on. 2019 Catinos, 588 Mill Road, soil removal permit. Motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. No changes in what's been the
No,
operation of the property?
basically,
Same
they
thing.
take very little out of there. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Schedule next meeting?
July 4th.
Yeah, right.
Your house, we like ribs.
Ribs. I only serve lobsters and clams.
Surfing,
Guess we'll
no
have to
surf and
set-
turf?
No, no,
No surf, huh? No
plenty
turf?
surf, but no turf.
Well, we'll have
It's up to you
set-
guys, whatever you guys wanna do for a meeting,
Until we would need to meet.
yeah.
We don't need,
yeah.
I have to find out about them and Woodland Current and all that stuff,
Yeah, I
so
don't think we need to schedule.
on
It's gonna be hard to
on-call
schedule, because we don't
basis.
know how long they're gonna be.
Right.
I'll work it, so that you guys will know as we
Joe,
go along.
notify us, or Wanda will notify us when the next meeting's coming up. That'll be all right with you fellas?
Thank you.
Make a motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes.